If you just grab the animated text pack, you're in the right place. I'm going to walk you through everything so you can start using it right away. And if you haven't picked it up yet, stick around, because by the end of this video, you will see exactly what it can do and why it will speed up your workflow. So the way we access the text presets is we click on the effects here, and then we press on this drop down here. Then we go into titles, and then we can see we have a couple of different ones. We have the 30 FPS animated text and the 60 FPS animated text. These are just a normal text plus node where I've added an animation to it, and there's over 72 of these presets, so that's pretty cool. So we can just go in here. I use 60 FPS, therefore I'll use the 60 FPS ones. If your timeline is 30 FPS, you'll just use these here. But enough talking about the animated text plus for now. Now we'll take a look at the new text engine, and if you want me to tell you a little bit more about the animated text plus, you can just jump ahead to the next timestamp. Before it was called new anim text presets, but this one is combining all of those into one. So if we just grab this and add it to the timeline, we can see we have just a normal text interface here. We can choose the text. I'll just type new, edit, and then for the font, I'll just choose a font I like this one called Europe Grotesque. I'll just size it up a tiny bit. So here we can adjust the tracking, the line spacing if we have multiple lines, the placement of it. If we want it to be wrapped to text box, I'll just press here and then do Fusion Overlay. Then we can just do that. So that's pretty cool. So if we have a bunch of text, I'll just type a bunch here. Then you can adjust the width of the text so it's all lining up the side, and you can of course choose the anchor points well if you want to. So that's pretty cool. I'll just delete most of this here. And you can also choose if you want it to be a gradient, for example. But as you can see right now, there isn't any animation on it. And the way we can get some animation going is we can go to the animation page here. Then we can choose the animation type, which is basically if we animate, just do size animation, you can see all of the text is animating now. But if I do letter, each letter is animating on by itself. If I do word, it's each word animating on. So just add a space here. You can see each word is animating on by itself. For now, we'll just do text. Under that, we can see we have the new animation. And this is here where we choose the length of the animation. So if we want the animation to be way longer, we can drag up the in length. If we want to delay the animation, we can drag up in offset. So then we will basically just delay the animation from the start here. I'll just do default for now. If we want to add out animation as well, we can do that. So just press on this here, and then the text will animate out as well, which is pretty cool. For the curve here, we can choose the animation curve. So if we want to, we can also do a custom curve here. So we can make it fast in the beginning and then slow down. This is super clean. We can also go into easing here and then do an elastic curve, so we get this really cool bounce effect. Now I'll just do expo, and then we can go through all of these nice and clean text animations. So the first one we have is the size. This is just a size up by default, but if you want to, you can also make it a size down. You can just drag up the start size, and then it will zoom out like this. We also have the slide here, so it may look a bit confusing in the beginning, but the way it works is if I drag up the slide amount, you can see it a little bit easier. Right now the slide angle is -90, so it slides from the bottom. If this is 0, it will slide from the right side to the left. If it's 180, slide from the left side to the right, and if it's 90, it will slide from the top and then down. We can go into the middle, and then we can place it wherever we want. So want to slide from the right side, we can do that. We can make a slide from the bottom right side as well, and that's pretty cool. For now, I'll just make a slide up. Then we have the fade here. So this is just a simple fade in. You can see now it just slides up and fades in. And if we want to, we can also add a blur animation to it, so it will start blurred. Then in here, we'll change the blur amount, so it starts way blurred and then slides up. We can also do a spin, so it spins around like this, and we can also do tracking, which means if I just remove all of these here, you will be able to get a little bit easier. Each letter just slides out from the middle. You can also make them slide from the sides to add in. So if we just drag up the start tracking, it will slide in like this, each letter, which is also pretty cool. If you just add a little bit of blur and maybe some fade in, this looks pretty cool. So there's a bunch of different animations you can do, and it's really fast to do it. One of my personal favorite effects is also the one that's called Iterate, and it's a pretty special kind of effect. As you can see, it looks really clean, so it just expands the width of the letters, which is really cool. And it's also that effect I used in the beginning here, which I also used with this animation here. I made the Vox text here with this kind of effect, and also this one that says new edit here, so that's pretty cool. Then we have the flicker. The flicker is also really nice. It's just a really clean flicker animation, and as I said, I'll just enable this. You can also do letter animation, so if we do letter here, we can do a letter slide out, and I usually pair this with a fade, which slides up like that. And if we want it to slide right, we can do 180. Then it will start from the right side like this, which is also a super clean effect. I really like this effect. And then if we add a little bit of blur to it as well, we already have, maybe increase it a tiny bit, we get a super clean effect. So if we want to, we can also do words. I'll just make it slide up instead, so we get light up like this, which is also super cool. So this was pretty much how the animation page worked. So now I'll just do a slide up and fade in with a little bit of blur. And then I'll go into the effects here, and then I'll show you how that works as well. So first of all, we can add a drop shadow, just add a background on it. It's a bit easier to see. But now we press here, we have the drop shadow, and we can increase the string, change the color if we want to for some reason. And yeah, it's pretty cool. And then another nice thing we can add is a little bit of a glow. Most other text animation presets for DaVinci Resolve uses the soft glow. If we just jump into Fusion real quick, I can show you. This is by using the Neo Glow, which is also one of my plugins. And usually it's pretty render heavy, but I've done some things to it, so it will be less render heavy if you just use medium, which also looks super cool. For the quality, you can also choose ultra. It gives a little bit better look, but medium should be working fine as well for the most part. But if we just grab a soft glow here, you can see this is the soft glow and this is the Neo Glow. Neo Glow looks way better in my opinion. We can also add an outline if we want to here. You can change the size, change the color if we want to. Pretty versatile. And you can also add shine, which is one of my favorite parts about this plugin. Because if we change color here, right now you can't really see anything. But if we make it blue color like this, you get this super clean shine text effect, which is really cool. And these shine effects here is super popular for a lot of reels. So you can just change whatever color you like. I like this blue color here, and this is also what I did here. I had this really clean shine, and if you know the guy named Deviniato, his reels are really popular to edit like, and he also uses this kind of look. And here you can just go into the effects and enable it with one click, which is super cool. So what we see here is we have the sweep count. This is basically just how many of the shine count. This is just how many shines we have, and we can choose up to 3. Then we have the intensity of them, so basically how much it shines, and the angle of them we can also change, and the width as well of the shines. And the soft edge is basically just how soft the edges are, so bring it up a little bit more, it's easier to see. So normally I just leave everything at default, and that looks really good. Then here we can change the position of them, so if we want this to be on the side here, we can do that, and this one to be on the edge as well, and the middle one to a little bit to the right maybe. We can do that of course. Then we can change the edge size down here. This is where we can change the edge controls, so we can also make the edge less visible. We can also add a little bit more softness into the edge if we want to, and all that cool stuff. So that's pretty much how you use the shine. Then one of my other favorite things about this is the blurry spots. This is also super cool, because you can see now we get this pretty cool blurry spots on our text. And right now we can't really see where the blurry spots are, but what we can do is we can press on the view blur map, and then we can see all the controls. So here we can change the type of blur. I'll show you a little bit more about that later, but for now I'll just show you what you can do. So we press on the view blur map and change the width of the whites here is these blurs, and you can change the position of them, so place them wherever you'd like this here. And you can of course change how many of the blurry spots you want. We can for example do 2, 1 maybe. Let's just do 1 for now, and then we can make it blurred in the bottom here, which looks pretty cool as well. And then we can change the blur size if we want to, which is also pretty clean, so that's pretty cool. Then we can do gradient blur as well. So if we just view the blur map, you can see here we can change the gradient angle. So if we go here, this is basically where the blur happens on it, and here in the gradient, if we drag this point down, we will blur more. So the white here is where it's blurred, so if we drag this way up, a lot less will be blurred. You can see here we can change the places we want to be blurred, and this is the angle of it. We can also add fast noise blur, so we just drag down the blur size a little bit like this, and then we can view the blur map, and where it's white it will be blurred, where it's dark it won't be blurred. So if we want less places to be blurred, we just drag down the brightness a little bit, and yeah, if we want more places to be blurred, we can just drag up the brightness. And then through the seed here, we can control which seed we want to use. So I think this looks cool because we blur the edges here, but the middle won't be blurred. We can of course also change the scale of it. If we make it really big, we will get these small clouds. If we make it small, the scale, we will be a lot more, it will be a lot bigger, the fast noise map. We can also turn down the detail. So as you can see now, it looks kind of cloudy, but if we turn down the detail, it won't have that look. It will be more smooth around the edges, not as detailed and cloudy. But I honestly like the cloudy look a lot. We can also drag up the seed rate. So as you can see now, the blur will be animating. If we remove the blur map, you can see the blur is animating, which is also a pretty cool look. For now, I'll just remove this, and then we can make it this kind of look made over here, this kind of color, maybe remove the shine, and then we can do a erode animation, for example, because I want to show you the stop motion. So if you go into stop motion here, you can see the stop motion is basically lowering the frame rate, which also gives a really cool look. As you can see before, it looks super smooth. If we add stop motion, it will be lowered the frame rate. So when the frame repeat is 4, we will then divide this number with the number we have in the timeline frame rate, which is 60 divided by 4. That gives us 15 frames per second. So this animation here will be 15 frames per second. If you use 30 FPS and the frame repeat is on 4, you will have 7.5 frames per second. If you want to do 15 frames per second and you are using 30 FPS, you'll just make this 2 instead. So this is pretty much how you can use the new text engine, and yeah, you can do a lot of cool stuff with it. So for me, I personally use the new text engine because it's really lightweight as well. So it's really good to use for quick animation on the edit page. If you have some talking head footage, for example, I just want to add a quick animation in the bottom here, some other animations, you can easily do that really quick. But we also have the other ones here, which is perfect for the Fusion page, for example, or if you just want to do some custom animations. So we got over 72 different, and if we want to, I use 60 FPS as I said, so here we can choose if we want it to be full text, letter or word animations. For now, let's just do a letter one, and let's do a slide up and bounce, and then we can see we get this super clean letter slide up and bounce. And this is just a normal text plus node, so we can do anything we can do on a text plus. I'll just type new edit and choose Europe grotesque. Here we get this clean bouncy animation, and then we can just jump into the Fusion page. If we want to change the delay between the characters here, we can go to the modifiers and make it lower the delay, or we can make it faster as well if we want to. So it's pretty much animating on at the same time. But yeah, there's a lot of different text animations here. If you specifically are looking for bounce animations, you can just press on this drop down here and choose bounce, and you can choose the bounce animation you want. You just want a flicker, like a random flicker, for example, you can just grab that under here. So yeah, this is pretty much how you can use the animated text pack. If you haven't already got the pack, there's a link down below, you can grab it. And if you already have got the pack and you have any suggestions for new text animations or have any questions about it, you can just drop them in the comments down below. Have a great day out there, and I'll see you in the next video.